Hello and welcome to the morning sports briefing here on New Zealand Sports Radio. It is Monday, the 26th of June, and I'm Paul, and I'll be your host this morning. In the news today, we'll catch up on the rugby news with the Oceania Sevens and also news around the British and Irish Lions tour to South Africa. We've got a report from Richie, our host of or co-host of the Standoff Show on the State of Origin game from last night. We'll also catch up on the basketball action with the NBA and the Sal's NBL. Also, we've got squash news from the World Tour Championships. Netball have been in action as well as the hockey players over in Perth. We've got the Tour de France happening in Tour de France happening? It's happening in France, funnily enough. The golf action with PGA, the European Tour, and the LPGA, with the LPGA's second major of the year. And finally, we got some Formula One news as well. And I've just realised I did not bring up the netball results, so we'll just bring that up. While this is your best way to start the day with all the important sports news. And since I'm talking about netball, let's start there then. With a shortened round because of the old COVID situation, the Northern Stars played against Mystics up in Auckland, and the Mystics won that one 65-57 to get the good win up there. Tonight we'll also have the Steel taking on the Magic in Invercargill. The Pulse versus the Tactics has obviously had to be delayed by the looks of things. Moving on then to the basketball, keeping it with round balls and nets. Over in the NBA, and the Suns have taken a 3-1 lead in the Western Conference Finals over the Clippers, winning the game 84-80. That means they're just one game away from the NBA Finals. For the Clippers, they were led by Paul George with 16 rebounds and 23 points, and Zubac with 14 rebounds and 13 points, but it was not enough as well. Also, Reggie Jackson also chipped in with 20 points because Dondre Anton got to put together a double-double, 22 rebounds, real good work there in the paint, and 19 points. Devin Booker supported him with 25 points, as did Chris Paul with 18, and Mikal Bridges with 13 rebounds there. So a tight four contest between the Clippers and the Suns, but one more game could see it all over. The Hawks are playing the Bucks today at 12:30. Their series is tied 1-1 currently. Over in the Sal's NBL, and in an empty stadium, the Wellington Saints took on the Hawke's Bay Hawks, beating them 119-112, a high-scoring thriller there between those two top teams. The Hawke's Bay Hawks still stay top of the table, ahead of the Southland Sharks, who are also both those teams on 20 points, but just one win back on 18 points are the Wellington Saints, who have 2 games in hand over the Hawke's Bay Hawks, so they can go top of the table. The other results saw that the Auckland Huskies beat the Otago Nuggets 93-70 down there in Dunedin. Fantastic result for the Huskies that keeps them in the hunt for that top 4 place. The Nuggets currently in 4th, with the Auckland Huskies in 5th. Both teams on 16 points there, so just separated by 4 and against in that one. The Canterbury Rams a game further back on 14, and the Nelson Giants 3 wins back, but they do have 2 games in hand there. So be interested to see whether the Nelson Giants can make up that space. But yeah, Auckland Huskies, a fantastic weekend for them, picking up 2 wins and really giving themselves a good chance of making that final 4 for the finals. A bit of a break now until the 30th of June. So what's that is Thursday night when we'll see the Giants take on the Wellington Saints in the Sal's NBL. Heading over to Perth for the hockey, and in the World Hockey League, I've got the name that wrong. The FIH Pro League. Thank you. That's what it is. The Black Sticks were downed again by the male counterparts 2-0 this time. Better than the 7-3 loss they had on Saturday, but still the Black Sticks go down to lose both those games then to the Kookaburras. Coming off the back of a win, the women's Black Sticks took on the Hockeyroos, but they weren't able to back up their win, and they lost 3-1 in that one. Even though Olivia Mary did pick up her 11th goal in the Pro League to top the individual scoring charts. Moving on then to the Tour de France. And after Julian Alaphilippe was in the yellow jersey after day one, we had another day for the Punchers with the steep climb towards, or a small steep climb towards the end. He wasn't able to back up his win with another win, but this time it was Mathieu van der Poel who took the win. Yesterday he got himself out of position going into that final climb, but today he got it all right. He took the win ahead of Pogačar and Roglic, the riders who finished first and second last year at the Tour de France. So those two already going well. Wilco Kelderman was the only one who could stay with them, and everybody else lost seconds. Julian Alaphilippe drops back to second place as Mathieu van der Poel takes over the leader's yellow jersey on stage 2 here, after 2 stages. But already Pogačar and Roglic have got themselves a small gap over the other general classification leaders. Will it be a fight just between those two? We'll have to wait and see. That's what a lot of people are expecting in this tour. Moving on to the NRL, and let's bring in Richie from the Standoff, our show, our NRL show that comes to you every Wednesday at 8 p.m. For his report on the State of Origin Game 2.
From the Standoff Rugby League show on Wednesday nights, New South Wales have closed out the State of Origin series with a 26-0 win over Queensland at Suncorp Stadium in Brisbane, the first time Queensland have ever been held scoreless at Suncorp Stadium. New South Wales scored 3 first-half tries through Josh Addo-Carr, Latrell Mitchell and Tom Trbojevic. Scoring slowed down a little in the second half, with only a penalty goal to Nathan Cleary and a further try to Josh Addo-Carr 10 minutes out from time. And that was the game and the series.
Thank you very much, Richie. I know you'll be very happy about that, and we'll be discussing that game on Wednesday evening with Brad, who will be very sad that his side has lost the series 2-0, but to do join him at 8 p.m. on Wednesday for the Standoff show. Moving on then to the golf, and in the PGA Tour, the Travelers Championship is live in the final round there. Leishman is Hickok and Watson are all tied at the top. Garner has just joined them at 11 under par. Danny Lee, unfortunately, missed the cut in that one. Over in Europe, and the BMW International Open has finished. Hovland won that at 19 under par, but some 2 very good performances by our Kiwis. Ryan Fox finished tied 14th, very credible there at 11 under par, and Geary finished tied at 29th at 8 under par. So 2 good results on the European Tour there by the Kiwis. Over in the LPGA, and it is the 4th round is live there in the Women's PGA Championship, the 2nd major of the year. Korda leads away at 18 under par. Lydia Ko, having a tough time of it, is down in tied 52nd place at 3 over par. Her early season form, unfortunately, appears to have deserted her after her break ahead of this coming into this championship. Let's move to cover off the squash now, and it was semi-final time at the PSA World Tour Finals. Joel King came up against Nuran Gohar, the world number 2, and unfortunately came up short 11-2, 10-12, 11-6 to drop out at the semi-final stage. Similarly, Paul Cole against Mohammed El Shabagi, who also was the number 2 seed, there also dropped out 11-5, 5-11, 11-5. So both Kiwis really good performances to make the semi-finals, but not quite good enough to go all the way in that one. So next up, they'll both be in action at the World Championships in Chicago. Joel King will be seeded 7th there, and Paul Cole will be seeded 4th going into the World Championships. Finally, let's round off with the rugby, and we had the there we go. That's 1-4. We had the Oceania Sevens this weekend over in Townsville. On the men's side of things, the Fiji took it out, winning all of their games with the New Zealand, with the All Blacks Sevens or Sevens All Blacks coming in second. They're ahead of Australia. The Oceania Barbarians, unfortunately, not winning any of their games over in Townsville. On the Blackfern Sevens, though, were more successful, winning their tournament, going undefeated in their 6 games. Australia came second, ahead of Fiji, just on points difference. Both had 3 wins and 3 losses, and Oceania Barbarians again failing to pick up a win on the women's side either. So the Blackfern Sevens looking good ahead of the Olympics later this year. In the Lions, yesterday we told you that Alwyn Jones and unfortunately have to pull out the tour due to injury, and Conor Murray has been the scrum half has been named as the replacement tour captain. Beard comes in to replace him in the locks. Also, Tipperick has had to withdraw from that squad due to injury as well. The stinger looks to be was worse than initially thought, and Josh Navidi comes in to replace him. The South African side have had 3 positive COVID tests in their team, and so isolating currently. All the players have had vaccinations, but vaccinations mean that you're better equipped to fight off the disease. It's not like a shield, and unfortunately they have having to isolate now while they get better. You have now started the day the best way to be with all the important sports news. Don't forget to join us at 7 a.m. tomorrow morning for the morning sports briefing.